Jaguar is blowing up. People are dunking on it left and right for the rebrand. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you haven't seen it, check this out. So Jaguar a couple of days ago announced, well, I don't know what they announced. It says copy nothing. This is on Twitter, on X. 125 million impressions or views. Sorry, 120, not even impressions, 125 million views on the X platform. Elon Musk was like, do you sell cars? Every comment is like, what the heck is happening? What are you doing? The admin is having a blast here. But let's talk about it. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it in the description. But Jaguar is rebranding. Again, I don't really know what they're doing. It seems like they're announcing, if you go back to their feed a couple of days afterwards, they're announcing December 2nd in Miami. So looks like another a car, potentially an electric car. It's got some cool details here, but it still looks like a car, right? Their ad, they're getting dunked on because their ad doesn't show, well, one, a rebrand, two, it's a very sort of woke-ish, like creative ad that doesn't show a car. Just it looks more like a fashion show than a car. All right, so here's my take on it, and here's why, even though most people are dunking on it, I think it's a brilliant move. Number one, we all know they sell cars. Like, let's not be dumb. We know that Jaguar makes cars. They're luxury cars, and we might even know people who drive them. So they don't need an ad with a car. Number two is they're doing something to stand out. Car commercials notoriously are formulaic and dull. You have this car zipping through the mountains or through some exotic terrain, and they have a voiceover, maybe a fancy actor telling you how cool they look driving a car. We all know it. We've all seen it. We don't pay attention to it because they all look and sound the same. Doesn't matter if it's whatever. It doesn't matter the type of car. They all look and sound the same. Three, and this is probably the biggest reason, is they created an open loop. Now, one, it's really well executed, but two, it's really hard to get noticed. And I'll talk about that in a second. But they created an open loop. An open loop, humans hate open loops. An open loop is if you've ever been sort of walking, you're like, what was I thinking about? Or it's like you have that word at the tip of your tongue and it just drives you absolutely insane because you don't know, the loop isn't closed, right? You don't have an answer to that thing. And it's an incredible psychological phenomenon that when executed really well, it creates this type of buzz. And so because it was so out there, it got people to notice, and Jaguar didn't tell you what's to come. Instead, they left you as the viewer asking yourself, what the heck is happening? Like, why are they doing this? What's next? And it keeps you engaged, and you want to finish that loop. You want to close that loop. Humans hate open loops. Four is they did this on social media. If it was a huge announcement like a new car rollout or new product rollout, they could have just bought a Super Bowl ad, did what everybody else did. They could have announced it and spent a lot of money on it and just done the formulaic car commercial. But instead, they have 125 million impressions without paying for an ad. I don't know if they ran ads to this. I think they just put it out there. Maybe they ran a little bit of paid ads, but even still, 125 million impressions. And it was sort of a social media first phenomenon. That's incredible. Five is they got you to notice. As a marketer, I can tell you that's incredibly hard, especially at that scale. And sometimes you can have a better product or a cool announcement or something that actually deserves attention, and it just doesn't get attention because it's really hard to get people's attention in a noisy world. You're competing against, everything. And so it got attention. So shout out, that deserves respect. And six, and I think this is also a super big thing, is sometimes when you have traditional brands, you get conservative and you're scared to take risks. You don't want to push the boundaries outside of your norm, especially outside of your industry norm. But Father Time is undefeated, and at some point your brand becomes stale. Nobody wants to talk about it. You're like my grandfather's car, and I don't want to talk about it. And so Jaguar did something that required a ton of guts. And they did that because they have a strong brand, or maybe they had a strong brand. Hopefully they don't mess it up and they can actually turn this into something good. So they could afford to take the risk. So just because they could afford it, most people sitting in these boardrooms and making these decisions don't have the courage to actually go out and make these types of decisions. And so, like, I have friends who drive Jaguars, Mercedes, BMWs, and so on. I personally drive a Tesla. I've always been like, meh. I've checked those out, but I'm not super interested. I like my Tesla. But this at least makes me interested in a Jaguar. And I think they could do this. They could afford to take this risk because they have a strong brand. So hats off to Jaguar. This is my 2 cents on why I think it's actually a brilliant move that Jaguar did. And yeah, I think I'm excited. I want to close that open loop. Hey there, before you go, make sure to hit subscribe and the like button. Leave me a comment below if you agree or disagree or what you think about Jaguar. Would love to hear from you. My name is Hugo with Just Digital Inc. We're a top-rated advertising agency. Make sure to hit the subscribe button for more content on this channel.